welcome, of course, to the Extreme Business Set Mind series with myself, Paul Rees, and the amazing, the wonderful, the three wise men in one bag, Mr. Lee Tunnyware. Lee, thank you. You're actually in UK. You're out and about, but you've taken time to jump in and do this. Keep this series going with myself, and thank you for that time, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, my friend.
Oh, it is
sunny Hastings.
Wherever that is, I do not know, because geographically I'm crap at things like that. But where is Hastings?
It's where you are, over to the left and down a bit.
That will do. That will do. That will do. And it's the idea of this series, of course, this set mind series. And I've never said this in this way. Usually people say, Paul, did you spell that right? It's usually mindset. I said, no, we're working with Lee Tunnyware. Things are different here. And it's set mind. It's like, wow, I'm getting that. People are so getting the importance of what set mind feels like over mindset. And it's just a switch of recognition. And that, when we say things differently, and how we speak also is a signature of what we really feel inside our vocabulary. But also, is it reliable? And this is our theme. This is our theme this week, which is, are words the most reliable form of communication? Now, I'm a believer that most people, without even consciously thinking of it, will lie through their teeth, but think they're doing it authentically. And what I mean by that, Lee, is we rarely speak with authenticity, say our true selves. And I've learned this from you. And, my dad has said, Paul, you have changed so much in the last 6 months, the way that you are authentically presenting yourself. I no longer use words that have little meaning to how I feel.
You probably said it all there, just in that. I no longer use words that have little meaning to how I feel, and that's the point. What is communication for now?
Yeah.
And it's different categories. If you looked at it like a pizza, if you're in a town a bit like I am, Hastings, but I know Hastings, yeah, but let's say I did. I ask for directions, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My ask is very specific, and the information I'm going to get is very specific. It's going to be very directional. The person I'm asking directions from isn't going to ask me why I need to go there.
Oh.
They're not going to look for any detail at all, unless for some reason something has happened there and they say, well, there's X going on there. You sure you want to go there? And then they might go, why do you need to go? But that would be very, very rare. So when we're communicating, are we asking for information? Yeah, so as in data, so in a sense, in a job role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And obviously for me to ask for information in a job role, it's either I'm asking for somebody that, have you done X? Yeah, how did you do X? Has X got back to you? It's going to be very directional communication, as in very outcome based. And I don't think they teach that in school. I don't think they teach communication in school. Communication is very organic. And we put the words to it that we have a feel for, that we feel are right for it. Sometimes not put any thought into it. And then when the person we give the information to, like, for example, well, I gave you that information, Paul, last week.
Yeah.
And now, last week, you may have asked me for direction information. Lee, are you away next week? Yeah, I am. And are you able to do the podcast? I am. Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Certain. Yeah, brilliant. And while I'm there, Paul, I need to talk to you about X. Okay, mate. And I'll give you a bit of information now. X, brilliant. And in the moment, it's done. But Paul's mind was set on, is Leo doing the podcast? Yeah. Is it normal time? And whatever. Once I go past what Paul has asked me, so for example, I ask for directions to, I don't know, Hastings Pier, and the person I've asked gives me directions to Hastings Pier, then starts to tell me about the fishing village and about the cable cars up the hill. Yeah, yeah, I'm not interested. I just want, how do I get to Hastings Pier? But I'm not going to say that because I'm authentically programmed to be nice.
Wow,
Yeah,
there it
bloke.
is.
Yeah, yeah. So when I ask, and he gives me the information, anything after what I've asked, what my mind is set on,
Yeah.
yeah, what I've set my mind on, I need to know how to get to Hastings Pier. Then I get that information. After that, my brain starts to switch off. It's got no reason to be on. It's going to go into organic stuff, right? Oh, brilliant. And I'm trying, if the bloke goes, well, down to the traffic lights,
Mm.
you know when you're there because you'll see the big tower on the side. And I'm trying to convert those words into images, right? Big tower. What colour's the tower? It's blue. Okay, blue tower. What side was it? Left. Okay. And you go past that. No, you turn left there. As you're turning left, it's on your left. Right. And then it's downhill and no, it's uphill. And I'm converting all that information into instinctual. It's left, right. And my body, and it depends how we process data. See, some people process it physically. You'll know which ones. And bear in mind, we all process it on all modalities, but yeah, 5 modalities, I would say. But some people say I make my decisions by my gut. Yeah. So if you're a gut decision maker and I make decisions by my heart, and I'm a heart processor or communicator, you're
Mhm.
speaking from your gut and using gut language to speak to me, and I'm a heart person. So now my heart has to digest because it can't digest, can it? No,
Yeah.
because it guts to digest and process.
Wow.
Yeah, and then what's my intent for speaking? So when somebody gets stressed and they speak, they've got gut energy, physical energy behind it, which can sound masculine or aggressive. Male or female, it can sound aggressive. If I'm speaking from my heart's upset, it can sound hurtful when I speak from my heart.
Hmm.
So it's not just when we communicate, it's what part am I communicating from? Am I communicating from my spirit? Yeah, my excitement or my lack of it. Because to me, that there's 3 types of energy: physical energy and 3 types of processing, as in that energy. Now, we've got left brain, which is thought, and we've got imagination. So put those 2 to the side, there's 5. So if we work it from the bottom up, because near enough your chi energy is down in your lower reach of chi.
Wow.
So that's your excitement energy, or your lack of it. So if you lack pride or you have pride, it comes from the lower, like low down in your groin. When you get up to your gut, your belly button, that's your gut energy. When you get up into your heart, that's your heart energy. Now, ideally, you want all those 3 aligned. Some people only communicate from one, where authenticity to me is communicating united from all 3.
Wow, Lee, that is just such a golden nugget when you think about combining those 3 power wisdoms together. And it's safe to say, and I'm going to say this, that the majority of people, especially networking, which we'll touch on, poor communication and networking, because the amount of people
Is
that
it
are,
poor communication or is it poor connection?
well, it could be both, but
Mm.
when we are speaking using words that cover up panic, doubt, poor self-worth, all these things, and we're trying to project to an audience this perfection part of us, and I don't believe there's such thing as perfection. That it's not possible, otherwise we'd all stop in life, for sure. So it's not possible, and that creates for almost a pantomime business that isn't a true business, because it's not coming from the true communicated part of you, which is those 3 then unified as a beautiful processor in communication.
And when you take those 3 energies and then you communicate them,
Mm.
that's really, let's say, how we were organically put together.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we're sort of in the mixture. So let's imagine we're baking bread here. We've got the yeast, we've got the eggs, we've got the flour, we've got the milk or the water, whatever, and we mix it all together. We beat all the eggs up, and it's all one big mixture. And that's us now in our communication framework. If we were back at our infancy and the eggs were going in and they were being beaten up, yeah, and we were able to say, what's that? They're eggs, what are eggs? And we could get the history of eggs and what type of birds have them and where do you get them. And where most people think eggs come from supermarkets, but that's another story.
So true.
Yeah. But the point is, when you're in the mixture of it all, yeah, all the language, how do you separate it? How do you
Yeah.
get rid of the noise? How do you get to are we in the yolk or are we in the white of the egg? And that's only the egg. And then our focus, our mind is set on the egg and the yolk, and we think that's part of it. But really, if you think about it, if we evolved, yeah, and I'll say if because it's only a theory, and that's not to discredit science or discredit God, it's a theory. And obviously, it's logical or rational, logical being left brain, to think that we came from the ape or the monkey.
Mhm.
But in reality, you could have the monkey and the ape and all life forms from human form. So it depends how you look at data. So, for example, rather than its evolution being a development process, and you think, where's he going with this? Because language had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
If evolution, as we all perceive, is a development process, something smaller, something inferior, getting bigger, yeah, and more capable, that's sort of the evolutionary model through a lottery mutation process where if there was a Big Bang, if it's a theory, I'm not saying there was or there wasn't, then you got to look at it from the beginning. There was this Big Bang. Everything went everywhere. Nothing existed, but everything existed. Nothing created something. And then when it was something, it was nothing because there was no names for it. And then we had all these chemicals, atoms, and whatever. There was no O2. There was it was broke up into many different parts. So let's imagine our energy got exploded all over the place. There's fragments of everything in it. And like you got the yin and the yang, you got the dark side and the bright side working together. Yeah. And it's sphered inside this like atom, molecule, whatever it was. And now you've got friction between two energies. And that's really the yin and yang process, the negative and positive. Two energies, yeah, it appears working against each other, but they're actually working in unison, collaborative, because neither one has any energy without the other,
Yeah.
but they're encased in a sphere. So, and because of what some might call the friction between the two energies, you get movement. Movement is life, but life without intelligence, say, yeah, because it's got no purpose. It doesn't know you want to get to Hastings Pier. It doesn't know anything. So it's moving, 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 and then you get cell separation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that evolution was an excretion process rather than a development process. Now, as far as I know, I'm the only one that's ever spoke about this. As in, if it's an excretion process, then the pure energy is pushing out what doesn't belong there. And it's been doing it for millions of years. It's pushed out trees, it's pushed out fish, it's pushed out everything to a point now that we're in human form. And we still might be in the excretion process. I mean, we just still might be a tiny piece of, dare I say it, crap. And we're trying to get it all out of us to get to the best part of us, yeah.
I love this philosophy.
Because if we look at it that like we're growing, I mean, I don't want to grow anymore, Paul. Yeah, just a fraction under 6 foot, or if I was comfortable with it, I'd be 5'11" and a half. Yeah, you got to hear that one. And I'm not growing taller now, I'm growing out the way slightly, and I'm trying to pull it back in. But how does this come to language? Well, language, where did it come from? What was its purpose? The larynx here, like what we call the Adam's apple. Bear in mind, it's called the Adam's apple because Adam ate the apple that Eve told him to. Bear in mind, Eve is the beginning word of evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, the snake told Eve what to do, and then Adam and Eve were punished because Adam couldn't do what he was told. But he had free will, but he couldn't do what he was told. And now we got this larynx. In biblical terms, it was probably around, I don't know, 6,500 years if you trace it back through biblical stories, yeah, back to sort of Moses' time would have been the Israelites coming out of Egypt. Egypt, you've got the Old Kingdom, the New Kingdom, so you're looking at around 5,000, yeah, like BC. So, and then you got because it's very easy for biblical stories to trace the family tree and to work out how many years it was. Yeah, now they'd done time differently. Then in Egypt, they'd done it by the cattle count. How many like when they had the counted the cattle. Yeah, is what cattle count were they on? We're on 63, so that means they're on year 63. But they've done things differently then. The point I'm making is this: is we got up until 1849, I think, when Darwin come up, yeah, with the theory of evolution. Prior to that, his uncle was amazed with organic Earth. You think, how is all this relevant? Well, it's actually relevant in a lot of the language we use today and how we define ourselves. Because if we took Darwin out of the equation, yeah, and we had to take his uncle out because Darwin was highly influenced by the way he thought because of his uncle. Because his uncle had the realization that the Earth was organic, so it was forever changing. Now, humans want certainty. So, for example, if we go into climate change on our language,
Mm-hmm.
big fear in our language today. And so we're making decisions in real time by how the environment's changing. But the environment's always been changing. That's not to deny climate change. There's less water in the environment now than there ever was in human history on the planet. And people say, well, the water levels are rising. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they are. But has anyone ever broke it down and really thought about it? And I'm not talking about climate change. I'm talking about what we think about, the decisions we make, and how our plans are made. When we get a certain bit of data and we make decisions from all that data, where did the data originally come from? So when we say, like, in a sense, we can't communicate, and I'll go back to there's less water in the environment because that might have thrown people. Your radiator system, yeah, your hot water tank, your tank in your attic, your toilet systems, all holding water that initially come out of the environment. Add it up by the houses in your street, or just go into Google, how many houses in the UK? Yeah, the average hot water tank or hot water press holds about 80 to 80 litres. Your attic tank average about 100 litres, but that's 180 litres. Hot water system in your house, probably about another 80 litres. So you're near enough at around 260 to 300 litres in every house being held just there,
Mm-hmm.
statically all time. Go into a supermarket today and see how many bottles of stuff are on the shelf, whether it's whiskey or whether it's water. All came from the same source, water. Look at all the bottles, all the beer, all the cans. Never mind all the paint shops, all that's gone through. So you have a look through a supermarket and see how much water's there, and then how many supermarkets are there in the UK, how many corner shops, how many garages, how many bottles of Lucozade are there, how many. All of it comes from a product called water. All that water is not in the environment anymore. Fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
It's not flowing through the environment anymore, which means logically the Earth is going to, its temperature is going to rise because there's less water to keep it cool. Now, then, if we're an ecosystem, as in like Darwin's uncle said, then the Earth has got to move water around the planet because we're using it up on another side. Yeah. So I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just thinking this through when we look at what's happening in the environment. So back to, and you think, well, how is this related to? Well, we're in real time, and I'm not denying climate change, not for it, not against it. I'm not. I'm just looking at the data. I haven't made a decision, but there's a lot more going on than we think. The same within language. There's a lot more going on than we think. So within our language, the larynx, they say, moved up about 170,000 years ago. Now, in that evolutionary leap, the larynx had to move up 170,000 years ago for us to be able to speak today. So obviously that 170,000 years ago, supposedly in uh, fossil records or archaeological records. I don't know the data that supports that, but that seems to be quite a fact. They accept that the larynx, the Adam's apple, was there 170,000 years ago. And obviously millions of changes up to that.
Mhm.
When the larynx moved up, that was developed, that was the beginnings of the larynx for us to enable us to speak. Then if we came out of Africa, which many say, yeah, that and then you've got the migration path because when we get to language, the few distinct things in the world we look at, and to my knowledge, Darwin didn't look at them, was Australia. Now, Australia is a very unique mix in evolution, totally different to our side of the world evolution. And you go, how is this related to language? Now, it has a big difference. Excuse me. And the reason being is in Australia, there's no rabbit. But in the UK, in Europe, there is rabbits. The koala bear, yeah, is in Australia, and its fingerprint is the closest to a human. So close that if you had a koala bear as a pet, yeah, and there was a murder in your house or a crime in your house, and you done a runner with your koala bear, they'd be looking for the koala bear as a suspect. That's how close the fingerprint is. But Australia on the world map, for us to migrate out of Africa to get to Australia, we had to go through the ice corridor. And they reckon that journey would have taken, that's in the time of the Ice Age,
Mm.
would have taken 10,000 years. And you go, well, how is this anything to do with language at all? Well, if we don't know where we came from, how can we put it all together? Because otherwise, how do we separate the yolk and the egg? How do we, oh, am I a current or am I egg in the mix?
Mhm.
But when you look at Australia, the genetics are totally different. Now, Australia and New Zealand, there's a slight similar variation. Australia, you've got the kangaroo, and New Zealand, you've got the wallaby. Similar to a kangaroo, but it ain't a kangaroo. And when we talk about Neanderthal, yeah, Neanderthal was like the grunt species that literally moved out, as in they were so, I suppose, slow that they never had the resources, and because of that, they just died out. And the Homo sapiens, moved forward, and we're the winners. But in fact, that isn't true. Even in the real history that's given there, and how is it relevant to language? Well, when language developed, it's concentrated around the Middle Europe. We seem to get into sort of Middle Europe around sort of up from France a bit, because the first cave drawings are in about 25 to
Mhm.
40,000 years. Now, at that point, those cave drawings are so significant, even though if you've never seen them, they're supposedly so significant in our history as a human race. And the reason being because they would I can't say the word properly, signify, yeah, they would communicate that the cave drawings were the development of our culture, that we're now drawing our, or we're leaving maps, or we're leaving information for the next generation. We're starting to put our history down.
Wow.
We call it cave art.
Yeah.
Yeah, but bear in mind, the cave drawings are down in a cave in the dark, so they're painting them in the dark. Bear in mind, imagine going into the caves 35, 45,000 years ago, and you go into the caves, you don't know whether there's bears in there, snakes in there, whatever. Like, yeah. So obviously, what they imply is there was culture at that time, that we had some form of structure, social structure, hierarchy structure, wherever it was that gave us safety. We knew the terrain. And now we're starting to get a little bit bored. I mean, we've got food, we've got everything, we've got the technology to hunt, whether that's with a spear or fish, whatever. So now we can feed our basic needs, as in water, shelter, heat, and food. So now what do? Well, let's go down the cave pool. We'll do a drawing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and that reckons it was about max 50,000 years ago, but as early as 25,000 years ago, supposedly. And they date it, they carbon date it, but they can't really carbon date it because there's a, I don't know what the thing, there's a in carbon dating, if we did have Noah's Ark, and we may not have had the Ark, but if the world flooded, then if the world flooded, what we have is what they call the reservoir effect. The reservoir effect means that if they took a piece of salmon, a small fry, alive, and got it carbon dated, it'd say it could be 7,000 years old, and it was only hatched last week. Because water froze like the way they carbon date out.
Yeah.
So they can't carbon date. They may be able to now with technology, the way it's moved forward, but up to sort of up to 10 years ago, 5 years ago, they couldn't carbon date accurately. So if it stayed out of water, they could. So even dampness in a cave and throw it out. How is this relevant to language at all? Well, logically speaking, if culture developed around 25 to 50,000 years ago, that was the beginning of the mixing bowl.
Yeah.
However, they say the Neanderthal had died out long before that, or thereabouts. And the culture developed 25 to 40 to 50,000 years ago. Then they found a Neanderthal buried in Australia in the fetal position. Now, bear in mind the language. They didn't find a Neanderthal in a landslide. They found a Neanderthal buried in the fetal position. Now, to get to Australia, and that was in Australia, they found the Neanderthal buried. And they come out of Africa, down through Middle Europe, across and up through, across the ice corridor and into Australia. 10,000 years migration path, they reckon, with hunting and foraging and trying to keep yourself warm across through the ice. Yeah.
Wow.
No compass, no nothing. And then they get to Australia. And when they get there, obviously what they reckon by that stage is the Neanderthal sort of died out. Never made Australia, never made New Zealand, never made like America. Yeah, because America, New Zealand, and Australia are slightly different. Yeah, and some say, based on some of Darwin's uncle's theories, the Earth was smaller, the crust hardened, the gases expanded, and sort of blew the Earth up like a balloon and separated the landmass. And then when it reached a certain velocity, there was cracks in the crust, and that created the tectonic plates, and that created earthquakes, and that's sort of how our environment works today. And because of that, water moves, the tides move, and everything like that, and it's all one big ecosystem. And then us humans come along and we change it, and then we're looking at the changes today in, say, temperature and whatever. But our focus as a race has never been on the planet. It's always been on what we can get. And once we develop culture, then we start to judge who we are. Or we start to judge the poor Neanderthal. Absolute idiots. I mean, they no way in the world could they have made Australia, but they did. Not only that, to get there, God knows when it was, because it was before the cave drawings. And the Neanderthal, however dumb or clever, can't bury themselves. So it wasn't a landslide. They were put in the fetal position and buried, which means Neanderthals had respect. They had culture. Totally, yeah. You think, how has this got anything to do with language? Because the way when we set our mind, or our mind is set, when our mind is set, we think Neanderthals are grunts. No, Neanderthals had culture long before Homo sapien. And the Homo sapien are clever ones, but the Neanderthal, like, were using stones, or they were just grunts. That's the way but the Homo sapien come along and they upgraded the technology and they turned a stone or throwing into a spear or whatever, and they worked as a team.
Yeah.
The Neanderthal, no, they just grabbed you by the hair. How they knew that? I don't think they had Big Brother or cameras in them days. It's all assumption. But it's all assumption with disrespect that we're the purer race, whichever race that is, like whatever colour that is, I don't know. But they always seem to be purer. Now, pure is a religious word. And this is the problem with language. The unconscious bias we have, if we are our authentic self and we're processing from our spirit should be clean. From our gut knows what's uncomfortable, what's comfortable, what's digestible, what isn't. We already know this on an instinctual level. From our heart, We know what's joy and the difference between joy and sadness, or joy and happiness. So is when we process the data or we make our decision, then we need empathy. Empathy isn't just, oh, Paul, I'm so sorry. Empathy is behind our language. And we don't think on the other person's behalf because that's control. But to know what the average human feels like, not just Lee Tony Ware, yeah, is I should have like an average of what how a human feels emotionally, how a human feels biologically. I'm stressedly. What does that mean? It means their biology is in tension. I'm confusedly. What does that mean? It means their left brain cognitive ability is blocked up, confused, stuck on a piece of data. I've just got fog all around me. I can't see a way forward. What does that mean? It means their right brain can't see a way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm just so down. What does that mean? It means their spirit
Hmm.
is not firing. Like it's not got a spark. And like emotionally, I'm just yeah, I don't really want to talk about it.
And
When people, when we can hear the tone.
all this, Lee, all these emotions, because I think it's fantastic that we did the journey through, how we became worded human beings, and and how intelligent that time was for us to become worded human beings. And you're right, we claim to be the perfect person, the perfect people, the perfect human being. But it's fair to say that, coming back to the start of this conversation, which was the majority of people manipulate, falsify words to have a political conversation.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I'd agree with it. I don't think the majority would. I would say that that would be, and I'd agree with you somewhat. So I've got to play devil's advocate in my own head because majority is a big word.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's a majority. I think it's a minority that
Okay.
controls the majority.
Oh, wow.
I think where do you get your data from? And this isn't, and it could be, but reality, when you get, I'll give you a good example. And it's not, and it's a political example, but I'm not interested in politics. I've got no alliance to a Pacific tribe
Mm-hmm.
because as soon as there's division, there's conflict. One's right, or one to exist, the others are wrong. The yin and the yang of politics, the yin and the yang of life. My mum come in one day. She's 83 years old now. I don't know what age she was, yeah, at the time, but it was when Trump was coming up for election. It was in like uh, all over the telly and whatever. Whether you're for Trump, against Trump, it's irrelevant, that part. It's just this. My mum came into our house and she was stamping. And I don't know what age she was, what, 75, 76. She didn't leave the place. Yeah, she went to the corner shop and back. That was it for a few groceries, and that was it. It was one of my kids would go with her, and they would go and get some sweets. And do you want a loaf? Here, have a loaf. Pint of milk. Here, what else do we need? Get some biscuits. And they get a little basket of shopping and come home. That's all the outside world contact she had. So she lived in a very sterile consciousness.
Yeah.
Her interactions were with me, Roz, and our kids, and my brother. Yeah. So you've got a fair idea of the conversations going on in her life, if you think about it. But she come in our side door one day and probably 4 or 5 steps away from having a heart attack. And she's coming and she's a ranting and she's steaming. And she said to Ross, have you got my emergency essence? Now, emergency essence is Bart Fail remedy. She got a glass of water, a few drops in it. Give me a glass now. I've got to sit down. And she sat down. Oh, thanks, Ross. Oh, and Ross gone, what's up? We thought her ceiling had fallen in. We thought her hot water tank had burst and her TV had blown up and she'd escaped with her life. And she managed to get like from her driveway down her driveway up our driveway and literally get in our side door, yeah. And she was safe now. She said, "Oh, Ross went, what's going on?" By this time, yeah, one of the kids had run in. You better come in. But to me, I'm working away in the office. I was like, Nanny, I don't think the thing's so wrong. I've gone in. You're right, Mum. Oh, don't talk to me. I said, what? She said, that bloody. I don't know whether I can say it. It sounds like brick, but begins with P. I said, who? She went, that Trump. So, yeah. And I said, what? She, oh, Ross, give me another glass of that. Put an extra drop in. And she's really going to town for about 5 or 10 minutes, going on about this bloke called Trump. And I said, right. So I'm a bit confused. He confused his left brain. Yeah, I can feel the data because I'm empathetic. She's telling me she's my mum. I love my mum. I want to know why my mum's upset, but I want to know why. Intellect. If I connect through my heart, how my mum's feeling, I'm going to empathetically connect, and I'm being heart programmed.
All right.
If I feel her stress in her body, and if I feel empathetically, I'm getting stressed. I'm going into tension. I'm going to be that bow that's coming back with the arrow. Yeah, and if I'm boiling's a physical term. So my blood's boiling. Oh, that's a biological term. That's your body. So now, depending on what if I connect with my gut or my heart, or my solar plexus, if I connect on all three, my three feelings, because only three feelings: physical, emotional, spiritual. The rest is data. So if I connect there, but I didn't, I want to know first. I want to put it through my mind filter. What's going on here? Does it make sense? Can I see that? Right now, I'm going to connect. Yeah, I'm with you. She's flying, and I said, Mum, oh, can I have a coffee, Ross? Yeah. Don't talk to me, Lee. Don't talk to me. I know you're going to question me. No, I'm not going to question you, Mum. I want to know, how an old woman who doesn't go anywhere, less of the old, okay? I want to know how a woman who basically watches Murder, She Wrote, yeah, Agatha Christie, yeah, and watches those types of programs. There's nothing wrong with that. I know there's not, Mum. I'm not saying that's what you enjoy. You enjoy watching those types of programs, keeping your grey matter working. Yeah, I love it. But you don't leave the place. You've never been to America. As far as I'm aware, you've never met Trump or anyone connected with Trump. How come you know so much about a complete stranger? And how come what you know about this complete stranger is making you so upset and so unhappy and so angry and so stressful? It's not good for a woman your age. What do you mean, my age? I said, you know what I mean. I said, I never realised you knew him. She said, I don't. I said, oh, fair enough. I said, then I'd question where you're getting your information from. I said, because where you got your information from, they're the ones playing with your feelings. And that's controlling, regardless of whatever decision you made. I said, you never met the person. You never looked into their eyes. You never shook their hand. I said, and you taught me not to judge a book by its cover. You taught me not to judge people. You taught me. I thought you were telling me the truth. I realised that what you taught me is a lie, because now you're in my kitchen, huffing, puffing and ranting, wanting emergency essence, 2 glasses with extra drops and a coffee, and you are talking to me, gossiping about someone you never met, and you got it from the news, which is supposed to be unbiased. Yeah, right. So I said, my point is, Mum, if you're going to communicate the truth, not somebody else's bias.
Wow.
I said, now, yeah. I said, do your due diligence. Don't switch it on at 6 o'clock and listen for half an hour or an hour. And it's so repetitive. I mean, if you miss it, you can get it again an hour later. And I'm not against the news. I'm not against the news at all. But I won't watch it because I don't know whether the data's real. Has it got a political agenda? Now I'm not scared of it. I can keep it on the outside. I can watch it. I can read it. Yeah, and I'm not I listen and read a lot of stuff. Bear in mind, I'm uneducated, Paul. Yeah,
Yeah.
got a good memory, but I do walk things back. So when we're back to evolution, language, biology was before psychology. Had to be because we evolved
Yeah.
supposedly. Now, how is it coming together? Language today. Well, initially, we would have developed language based on how we physically felt, how hungry we were, because it would have been directionary. We're
Yeah.
outcome based specifically.
Oh, wow.
What was our point to develop language? We didn't need language unless we started to unify. Starting to have, because what's language? I mean, I don't need that. How are you, Lee? I'm good. Should we go hunting today? Let's go hunting. I mean, I don't need language to talk to myself. So language was the beginning of culture, not art, language.
Hmm.
Now we are I mean, back to a few grunts and we could work as a team then. Whether we worked as a team, there was Paul's and Lee's tribe and John's and Mary's tribe and Francesca and Annalisia's tribe, and whether we had our own little tribes, you know, and nowadays you could call your tribe Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems, Green Party, they're all tribes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then we got our chief, and whatever our chief and their commander say, but we live in a democratic society.
Mhm.
So when you come back to your word, the majority, no. Every problem we have in our culture comes because of our leaders. Whether it's nature or nurture, if we're taught it, I've always grown up that women, yeah, are of the same value as men. I find it very confusing. My mum run her own business, my gran run her own business, in conjunction with their husbands.
Yeah.
So my father run his own business and my grandfather run his own business in conjunction with their wives. There was no that's Gran's business, that's Granddad's business. There was none of that. They worked together as a team and they communicated as a team. Were they in stress sometimes? Yes. Did they think that stress come from Granddad? Or did they think that stress come from Grandma? Yeah, because we're inclined to put a name to the feeling.
Wow.
So when we're in language, what are we expressing? Do we want directional information to get to Hastings Pier or I've set a goal, a 3 year goal. I want to be there in 3 years. Brilliant. Can you now, do you want data to get there? Yes. Brilliant. What you do is you go down to the traffic lights. Yeah. You go straight through them and you get to the roundabout. Now, at the roundabout, there's 4 roads. Now, see, you're not going round and round and round in circles. You don't take the first, second, or third. You want the fourth road. Now, it's going to look like you should take the first road, the easy route, but it isn't the easy route. It's not the shortcut. You go left, you're going to be going round and round in circles for years. How do I know that? I've been there, done that. And you come back and you think, well, what do I do now? Because you've still got 4 roads. You're just coming on a different one. I know, I'll go round and roundabout and I'll take the first turning. If you keep taking the first turning, sooner or later you're going to get it right. But that's lucky dip. That's roulette, Vegas type. Yeah, you've got to think it through. So what you do is you ask somebody that's been there and you get directions. However, when they give you clear, precise directions, you get to the roundabout, you take the fourth turning, you go down there to the fire station. You know it's a fire station, big building, big tower there, and they've got staircases up, and there's a car there in a car park burnt out as they practice there. When you see the fire station, big tower, down there, you'll see a big green area. After the green area, Paul's house is on the right. Yeah, I don't want to go that way. Well, that's how you get from here to there. Yeah, I don't feel, I feel it's my idea and I'll go the way I want. Well, if you need to get to Paul's house, you go down to the traffic lights, through the traffic lights to the roundabout, round the roundabout, fourth turning, down past the fire station, down past the green area. Paul's house is the first house after the green. Well, I feel that it's my business and I should go where yeah, business isn't like that. Business is down to the traffic lights, straight over to the roundabout, not the first turning, not the second one. I like the adventure of life. Well, then, if you want adventure, don't get into business. Business is structure and communication and process. But then, when you're dealing with somebody that likes to go left at the first round, well, I'm going to go left. I'm going to explore. Well, we need to hit this target by next Wednesday. Don't tell me what I should do. I thought you were on the team. I'm on the team, but I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I need to get you. So if we were a choir singing, which hymn are you singing? I'm singing hymn one. What hymn are you not singing? Hymn 963. And well, I think we should sing hymn one. And that's how we're going through life. So it's not communication. It's what part of you isn't communicating, what part of you is disrupting somebody else's.
Wow.
And what is the
Yeah.
communication for? If it's in your relationship, don't bring work communication into your relationship. Don't connect from your left brain to left brain. Well, do you want to know what happened today? To know something is left brain. It's information. It's like, look, yeah, data. It's O's and ones.
Hmm.
Want to know what happened today? What happened today? That Paul. Do you know what he said to me? Well, yeah, go on. I like Paul. I don't know. I mean, he seems like that. Like, what happened? Yeah, I walked into work and he said to me, "What time do you call this?" Soon as I was in, he never gave me a chance to put my bag down. All right. Yeah, he shouldn't have said that. I mean, what time do you call this? Do you know what time it is? Could have reframed it. Well, whichever way he said it. Like, how many times has he said it? Well, he normally says, "Do you know what time it is?" Yeah, it's 9:10. All right. I know what he's trying to communicate. Well, yeah, get on time. You're running 10 minutes late. You're doing it 5 days a week. You're getting paid for 50 minutes and you ain't even there. I mean, you're a thief. How many years have you been doing that for? Don't talk to me like that. But we're not on about that communication. When somebody says, because that's judgmental, that's taking sides. You're taking his side. I know what you're thinking. No, you don't know what I'm thinking. If you did, then you'd be in my head and I'll be in yours. Yeah. So when we take it down to its brass tacks, my husband or my wife doesn't listen to me. What does that mean? Yeah, what does it actually mean? So where do you want to go? I want to go to Hastings Pier. Where are you? Where are you? Where do you want to go? They're the two bits of data you need in any communication. Now, if you go back in the past and your evolution, where were they? What were they? Where are they? How did they get there? I mean, then it's Miss Marple, like my mum. And you can draw any conclusion you like. Language is for communication. You'd think in business, yes,
Yeah.
but language is for connection. And we had connection before we had words because we didn't have connection physically and emotionally. Whether we had emotions as a two grunts and a turn left, I don't know. But if we weren't connected, there'd be no cave drawings and there'd be no language because there'd be no point for them. How come we're so disconnected now? We're so evolved. That's really the question of language.
Yeah. Wow. That's so true. How can we so disconnected but yet so evolved?
Yeah.
Wow.
We are going backwards. I mean, we don't talk to our closest. We don't talk to our. I'm sitting in my cousin's, and I mean, this is the first time I've been here. I'm sitting in my cousin's living room doing a podcast in Hastings, and I'm from the other side of it, like another country. She's gone with my cousin, which is her boy, because she's my cousin, and Arthur, and they've gone to the caravan to see Roz. Because as soon as she knew where we're over on the holiday park, there's very bad Wi-Fi, and so we were just talking about it. Wasn't complaining, wasn't trying to be clever to get Rachel to go, oh, use my house. Yeah. I was looking at booking a hotel, like as in just a meeting room to go in and use their Wi-Fi. And Roz said to Rachel, a bit like, do you know how to get to Paul's house? I'll translate it. Do you know any hotels local to you, Rachel? Do you know anyone? Why? Aren't you happy here? Oh, no, it's lovely here. Because now Rachel's trying to work out, like, why do you want to know? No, it's just that Lee's got a podcast to do. Now, Roz was asking her, did she know? Because Rachel used to help run a lot of events. So Roz has put two and two together. Rachel will know how to get to the Paul's house. Rachel will know which hotel.
Yeah.
So Roz asked Rachel, and Rachel goes, what's now Rachel's trying to find out what the problem is. Why do you need? Well, he's got a podcast to do on a Monday morning and he wants a good connection. All right, I'll come around my house. Yeah, it'd be on it like, early in the morning. Right, yeah. Well, I've got a little person. I'm up at 6. Yeah. So yeah, little person. Yeah, no, I can come round here. And there was no conflict. There was solution, and
Yeah.
that's what
Hmm.
communication's for. Solutions, not conflict.
Yeah.
If you've got conflict, you've got two grunts and a turn left. It means you're in your own skin and you've got no connection, no physical connection, no emotional connection, no spiritual connection. Not spirit as in Christianity, uh, Catholic, Protestant, yeah. Not spirit like that. Your chi energy,
Yeah.
that connection. Are you connecting or are you connected or disconnected? Because if you're disconnected language with expression, you're putting your gut with it, yeah, as in, I'm really stressed today, yeah, or I'm really enjoying today. When the gut's involved, it stops joy and it stops pride,
Wow.
yeah. Because when the gut's stressed, you won't enjoy and you won't in pride. And that means when you speak to your son or your daughter, or your wife or your husband or your partner, there's something in your voice.
Hmm.
And bear in mind, no acting, just the tonality.
Yeah.
Morning, Paul. How we doing, mate? Because I've got nothing in me against my mate Paul. All right, buddy. I know. How are you today? Yeah, a bit tired, mate. I'm not going to let my tiredness get in the way of my respect for my friend Paul. And if I do, Paul knows there's something wrong, but I'm not acting. I'm enjoyed to see my friend Paul. Emotionally, I'm happy. I've got nothing inside me. And if I did, I might go months or weeks with Paul and never have a blip. And then I hear something on the news. Hey, Paul. Right, Paul. All right, Paul, how we doing? And Paul knows there's something what's wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing. Can we get this started? I won't say nothing. That's not me. There must be something going on. Because Paul knows he's done nothing. Yeah, what news channel are we listening to? Paul, I mean, Paul ain't Trump. But the jungle drums and all the what's
Yeah.
on the grapevine out there that we push out, the smoke signals and how we put it round the place is attacking Paul, and Paul ain't even in the conversation. And we're doing that to our families, we're doing that to our own kids, we're doing that about our husbands, about our wives, about our work colleagues. Yeah, stop the news if you want good communication. Treat each person how they treat you and
Hmm.
connect with them, even if you've got the news channel that says not. Now, in business, yeah, or sometimes if somebody keeps showing up and they keep taking the biscuits out of the cookie jar and you know, then don't invite them over the threshold. If you're having a wedding, don't invite them to the wedding. I would never invite a thief or a liar to my wedding or a troublemaker
Hmm.
or to any family gathering. I don't care who they know. But you've got to invite John, you know. You don't invite John to be conflict. If I invite John, there's definitely going to be conflict. What's my job as a leader if it's of my event is to make sure there's happiness and joy.
Hmm.
I'm not going to trade 100 people's happiness for one cookie jar. Yeah, that like one person who sticks around in a cookie jar. Now, sometimes we all make mistakes. I put my head in a cookie jar when I was younger. I remember when the Mars bar came out. Yeah, and I was at Hallsbridge in a shop there. It's an antique shop now, but my dad's mate had the shop, and it was a corner shop, bread, like biscuits, and I remember the Mars bar. And I don't know. Now I was in Ireland by the time I was like 5.5, so I was about whatever. And Bob, my dad's name was Bob. My dad's name was Bob. My dad's name was Bob. I said, yeah, it didn't sound right in my head. And my dad's mate's name was Bob. And my dad said, "Oh, right, you can stay with Bob and Mary. Give them a hand. I just got to run down the road." So my dad's mate Bob went, "Do you want to give me a hand putting these out on the shelf?" So I said, "Yeah." I'd never seen a Mars bar before, so I'm putting them out on the shelf. Yes, put them like this, put them around the right way. I didn't know what the right way was because I didn't know how to read Mars. Put them all there. And I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's chocolate bar." All right. Yeah, anyway, he went off doing his bits. I had a chocolate bar. And I thought, yeah, chocolate bar. I never knew that I needed money to get it. And then, um, what's never new, and all lined up. He went, there's one missing. Yeah, I put two and two together. There's one missing because it's in my gut. My, my gut wanted it. Yeah, my gut wanted it. It's chocolate. Yeah. And emotionally, I wanted it too. The
Yeah.
point is, my head then didn't get in again. Now I've got good clarity in my head, and I could see by him that he's putting two and two together. I can see his body changing. See, his tone's changing. I'm like, he's never been like this to me before. But of course, I'm only like 5, thinking, well, you never stole a Mars bar off him before. But I hadn't worked, and I'm thinking, what's up with him? And he went, there's one missing. Where do you think it's gone? I don't know. And he went, don't lie to me. I ain't said a word. I'm looking for this missing Mars bar. And like, he's getting more and more stressed. And at least I thought, well, I don't know where it is. Did you have one? Yeah, I had one. Well, that's where it went, then, isn't it? Yeah, all right. Yeah, I get it now. It's in my tummy. You got to have money to buy a Mars bar. And I'm learning a life lesson. So I put my hand in other people's cookie jars when I was a kid. I didn't know any different. Once I knew different, I didn't.
Yeah.
I learned very quickly. What I do know, if I take it into the analogy, if you want good communication, treat people with respect, emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
Mhm.
Look at their joy. And if they're unhappy, and if you're a people pleaser, don't take this advice because you've been doing it every day,
Yeah.
trying to please people. That means you're trying to change your emotional, physical state. And it's draining your state. It's got to be a connection, a unity. Yeah. So, for example, don't surrender your own life. As soon as you surrender, if you surrender for somebody else's discomfort, you've lost. You've given up. Call a truce. A truce is totally different. See, a surrender, it means if you surrender to me, Paul, I'm in charge, yeah, then you are weaker than me.
Yeah.
If we call a truce, we're both in charge, we're both to the same level. So in a marriage, yeah, or in a workplace environment, call a truce. Yeah, and it means that we listen. Yeah, and we
Mhm.
listen where it makes sense. And when somebody says, "Well, that doesn't make sense to me," and it's not a disrespectful statement, it means they're telling you they haven't realised they've done something wrong. Well, you done this, you done that, you done yeah, yeah, yeah. Where's the Mars bar? I don't know. It's here somewhere. Now I remember that feeling and looking, honestly looking for the Mars bar. It's it's here somewhere. I don't know. I hadn't put two and two together because my gut made the decision.
Wow.
Yeah, and I never had unity between my gut and my mind, and my mind didn't go, well, you greedy guts, you took it. Yeah, I'm looking for this, and I'm looking is right brain. I'm trying to see where it is. I can't think a thought. Yeah, I can think a thought. I can't see a thought.
Yeah.
And I'm picking the box up, and I still remember it now, and I can still remember. See, remember isn't just seeing it; it's feeling it. I can still remember thinking it must be in the bottom of a box somewhere. Yeah, and I had loads of boxes, like, but only one Mars bar, and I found the Mars bar. It's not in here. And of course, I didn't realise in his world, I'm absolutely taking the right Mickey. I wasn't. I was because my gut had eaten it.
Yeah. Yeah.
My body wanted it.
Yeah.
My brain hadn't put the two together. And then I realised, cool. And then I learnt when my gut wants something, yeah, and I haven't got this down to an art because it's expanded my gut slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. That tiramisu looks nice. Do you want one? No, no, no. My head goes, no. My gut, just a bit. Yeah. And I'm sure, yeah, because when people drink too much, eat too much,
Yeah.
yeah, that's their body. And they call it a mindset. No, it ain't your mind, it's your body.
Mhm.
If you're looking for attention, that's your emotions.
Wow. Yeah. And we so don't, people just don't put the right communication, the right language to its true purpose or reason. And you know, Lee, this has just been.
We've gone all around the houses again.
Oh, it's been absolutely beautiful. It really is. You've really brought in, as you do, surgically, you know, get us listening to the right clarity of the right clarity of where language and communication, how it comes together. And there was more that I've got now. So many notes from this that we're going to take to another Set Mind podcast and webinar for sure. But we are listeners, you know. You know, it's impossible to
just
stop
on that,
this.
yeah, my mum still hates Trump, and she's never met him. I find, and I'm not saying she shouldn't. So be careful where you get your data from, whether it's Trump or whether it's you or whether it's your mate. Because the one who's carrying it on the grapevine, now they're either doing it to protect you, Paul, you know that, yeah, that I wouldn't do business with him. And if you trust that person, you know I'm not a gossip. And I say to you, I swear to you, if I say to you don't do business with somebody, stay as far away from them as you can. Yeah? Because I don't attack people behind their back. I won't do it. But the point is, sometimes we do need to know, is it safe? That's what we're asking. Safe is biology. Security, yeah, safe is biology in the present. Are you safe? Security is, are you going to stay safe in the future? Communication is supposed to bring us together. Who is your communication pushed out of your life, especially if they're in your family, that's your tribe?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they won't listen. But there you go. Now you know they can't hear you in the left brain. Perhaps if you're going through the heart.
Yeah.
I love you. I love you. There's something wrong with our communication. I'd like to get us back. Can we go for a walk? Can we go for a walk? And not say a word. Can we just go for a walk? Can we sit down and break bread? See, a biological shared experience, walk and food. Yeah. And then, you like sunsets, I like sunsets. Why don't we go for a walk, break bread, and watch something we both enjoy? Now we're doing biology and emotion. And then why don't we do something? Climb up, then kiss, or go in the caves. We both enjoy that. That both excites us, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, let's go for a walk, break bread, watch and look at something, and go in the caves, because then we're going to cover the three feelings: biological, emotional, and spiritual. They're all we're working for. They're all we're loving for. That's all there is. No matter what else you come up with, it's only for three feelings. Are you happy? Are you safe and healthy? Yeah, and are you excited? If you got those three, you're the wealthiest person in the world. But if your words or somebody else's are taken away from you, then you need to work on your communication, because communication's for connection, for physical feelings, emotional feelings, and spiritual feelings. That's all communication's for. Not unless you want to get to Paul's house.
Lee, this has just been amazing. We started with our words, the most reliable form of communication. Then we turned it into actually how language is used and how words is used within that language. Such a layering of delivery. Absolutely beautiful. Loved our deep dive today. And, you we are, listeners, viewers, please subscribe, leave a comment, like. We always get back. Lee is always jumping in and out of this and adding on. You can get Lee Tunnyware on LinkedIn. You just put it in Google, you'll find Lee Tunnyware for sure. He has his amazing, own series we are the subconscious code breaker. All these things go on with Lee. There's so much there. He's one of the leading. I'm going to put the word coach here, but do it reluctantly because coach is such an overused word, but he is one of the leading thought shifters in the world. And it's amazingly that we are sharing this on a weekly basis. Thank you for your time. And listeners, until this time next week, of course, remember how it is you're communicating from the inside out first. Happy days. Bye for now.
Happy days.